believe it's real.
Welcome, Goran. Thanks for joining us today. Can't wait to dig into the Kogan.com story. Let's double click on Agentforce. If we're looking at agents and Agentforce within your business, what was that specific friction point that you were looking at within your business that you wanted to solve?
If you look back at the history of Kogan, and if you look back at our main mission, which is to really allow our customers to have technology and products that are at an affordable price point so they can live their best lives. Everything we do is about being operationally efficient so we can pass that back down to the customer. People will call us and spend a long time to try and discuss and resolve an issue that took a lot longer than it did to, say, respond to an email or fill in a form. So we moved away from that voice channel and passed on those cost savings through our product range and things like that. And what we were missing for a while is that async nature. Like, yes, we have self-service, email, contact forms, but that human-like interaction was missing, and that was a friction point that we identified could really be solved when LLMs came out because they're so human-like.
And what was that specific use case that you were going after that had the highest volume on it?
Yeah, as we're very pragmatic, so what we did was okay, let's get something into production, because if it's not in front of your customers, the Kogan view is it doesn't matter. And what we thought would be a good way to test this out is to do something that's valuable to customers, something that has business value, is simple enough that we can achieve it. And so we did, where's my order? Surprisingly, we're out there emailing customers, SMSing them. They can go onto their dashboard at any time, but people still want to know where their order is through another channel. And that was why we picked it. It was by far the largest volume of inquiries.
Amazing. So in the past, deploying cutting edge technology required a big engineering team. But one of the things that you've done is you've brought that into the business unit. So if you're looking at your customer care team, who are the business users, how did you embrace kind of their curiosity around technology and specifically Agentforce to deploy your agent that you have today?
What we were able to do just by the journey of moving on to Salesforce service in the first place was our team started upskilling themselves in the flows and connecting APIs within our organization in this visual no-code like environment. So when it came to the agent, the team was already familiar with all the ways to interact and take actions. And it was now just about learning the new way to orchestrate all of this. And amazingly, it sounds like, it would be crazy complex. It's actually, you just talk to it and instruct it as if you were writing a process document. And that has really leveraged the frontline people, our customer care team, to build a tech solution that solves what our customers really need.
So a lot of businesses are faced with kind of analysis paralysis. How do you tackle that as a business?
Yeah, I think too many businesses get too many people involved and they seek perfection. So a lot of people might work for a long time building something, never get it to see the light of day, and then the business says the expenses are too high, this isn't working, we're going to can it. By starting small and iterating, you might not have the perfectly architected, beautifully designed solution, but I don't think that matters anymore, particularly now where AI allows us to refactor things at a much faster pace. And even our Agentforce journey, the product itself has changed 3 times, but none of that has really impeded the team or delayed us. We've just adopted to the new way of doing things, transferred those skills across, and it allows you to get outcomes faster.
Yeah, and we actually catch up quite a bit, and one of the things you always say is if it's not in production, it doesn't count. Yeah. And I think that's really important because you're not about presenting slides to the board or trying to get buy-in, it's actually getting people on the tools and getting things done, which is really cool. So you've noted that if you start this entire project over again, your single biggest challenge would be to upskill your team from day one. So what does that upskilling look like in practice?
When you're working with all this frontier technology, I think an important thing is everybody is learning. Sometimes you use partners or consultants out there because they've done this, or they've solved a problem that you haven't solved yet, but they've done it 50 times. So you want to leverage that and just get it right the first time. With AI, no one's done it. No one's done it 50 times yet. So I think for us, getting those learnings in-house is key. And I would straight away take that approach rather than try work with specialists. But I think what also worked really well for us was when we ended up working with the forward deployed engineers at Salesforce, because this product is so new, it's so changing. you really need a connection within the org that can go deep and understand what the product team within Salesforce is building. So having them work with the domain experts of our customer care team and fuse together is ultimate. You've got in-depth knowledge of platform and you've got in-depth knowledge of customer.
Kogan.com is a full e-commerce business, and you understand that the customer journey just doesn't stop when a transaction happens, and many retailers kind of live and die by that CSAT score. And what's some of those kind of measurable impacts that you've had over it?
Every key business is looking at saving cost to serve customers because it can get super expensive, particularly in retail. And one of the biggest things that you want to do is say you can do it more efficiently, is make sure that the customers are still happy with it. And I think the old chatbots that were very rigid are the same as the self-serve capability we've had for a long time. The customer needs to almost think about how they phrase something. So with LLMs, the customer can just say it out with typos and all in the way they would ask to solve the problem, and the LLMs are able to understand that and then perform those like technical actions in the background. And we're seeing CSATs at the same level, so it's like a ±5 percentage points to actual humans.
Yeah, humans and agents, but then they're also working together,
and
which is pretty amazing. Yeah. So since taking Agentforce live into production, what have you seen in terms of that sheer volume of the actual inquiry handling that's coming through? And how are you tracking and maintaining the accuracy of it?
Yeah. So I believe there's been a significant reduction in the volume of inquiries coming through our other platforms, the ticketing systems, so say the self-service dashboard or email. Customers are preferring by far the chatbot, and that's growing. I think it went from 58% to 78% preference of customers, and I think that's because you do it your way on your time, and it can do the same things that you could do in self-serve or via email. It's just faster.
Yeah, and you're also expanding some of those use cases as well. So you started with kind of the where is my order, but you're actually bringing it into things like warranty claims and membership
with
questions.
Multimodal, image analysis. And we took the similar approach to like, okay, where is my order was the number one high volume question. So we said, okay, let's classify all those questions. And the beauty of today's age is we could get our Salesforce data, connect into it, with AI, classify the types of questions that are being asked, and then you have a roadmap of what you need to address by impact ranking. And that's really important because quite often organizations work on the wrong thing because they haven't done the data analysis.
And Kogan.com has a portfolio of brands as well. So how are you kind of changing that voice and identity of each of the brands?
So to give context, Kogan.com's got a technology platform that can serve all these brands. So in the back end, those processes are all the same. It's just the way we discuss and the product ranges that might differ between the brands. So the Kogan Red chatbot is our primary one that we built and first to market. We have just recently launched the Mighty Ape Albert chatbot, and that got launched within 2 weeks. So that just demonstrates how fast it is to move with this. You can leverage the context that you'd built for your first chatbot, and then what we have is like a master prompt that delegates to all these sub-agents, and you can change the brand intent and the discussions at that point. So it's very scalable across brand nuances.
Amazing. So if you had one piece of advice for retail leaders who are kind of looking at adopting something with AI and Agentforce to boost productivity and improve customer satisfaction, what would that one piece of advice be?
I think with AI, it's super important that you use AI and experiment with it. And you just have to let go of the fear of mistake. I don't think most of the retailers that we're working with are sending anyone up into space or performing brain surgery. I think people get scared too much of making mistakes and failure. Classically we use IT teams and engineers to engineer solutions. But what we're really going to be creating with AI now is builders. An engineer has a lot of process, they're going through a lot of things to deal with high scalability. A builder is achieving an outcome. And when you put a builder inside the guardrails of a platform like Agentforce, where it's got its own security layer, its own guardrails in there to keep steering the conversation, you can interact with engineering for security audits and authentication, but you're enabling people that had no prior experience in technology to now build technical solutions, and they're the best to build it because they know what they need to build.
And I love that culture that you've built of test and learn. Like you're allowing your teams to be creative and embrace technology and kind of feed their curiosity as well, and giving them the tools to do that.
Yeah, I think if you're in like a place where you're meeting to kick off a project, it's got like 30 people involved, or like your calls have got, I think some orgs have like 100 people called in. It's not going to work. That's not the approach. That's too much red tape, too much blockage, too many chefs in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to start from the ground up, from the person that's at the coalface. They've got the tooling and support now to actually build the solution that will really have an impact to business.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Goran, for sharing your insights today.